Okay, welcome to CFFC for Strategy from Beginning to End. My name is George Camus, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer for ForcePoint Global Governments and Critical Infrastructure. And today I have with me Joe Galindo, who's the Unit Chief for Advanced Technology Integration Unit at the FBI. Just a quick background on myself. I have over 35 years of cybersecurity experience. I started my career in the government working on crypto systems, mainly type 1 encryption devices, and then transitioned over to cross-domain solutions as I went into the private industry. And I think that, it's a good foundation for our discussion today. And I also have Joe Galindo. And Joe, could you please introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me. I'm Joe Galindo. I'm the Unit Chief for the Advanced Technology Integration Unit. I'm joining from a secure area. I'm not going to be able to turn on my camera. I got 23 plus years of federal government service. The big bulk of that government service is in cyber network defense and computer forensics, network forensics. The last 12 plus years, I've had a major program area that we all know is cross-domain solutions. And that's one of the big ways how we've been able to work through this event.
Great, Joe. Thanks. Hey, since we've talking about this event, today we're dealing with the COVID pandemic, and both the government and the commercial industry had to change the way that we work on a daily basis. In the commercial space, we've been a little bit more flexible than with the government, primarily because the government, many employees like yourself working at the FBI, but also DOD and IC, have to work with classified information. And that presents challenges because anyone that has worked with classified information, typically knows, the rigorous controls associated with using that and accessing it. And today, or actually before the pandemic, most of the folks dealing with classified information would go into the workplace, go into their agency or the department in a secure facility to process that information. However, with COVID, I know it's greatly affected you and many other customers that you have to be able to continue to do your job, but you're also pressed to work remotely. So if we could, I'd like to dive into that a little bit with you, Joe. You've been on the cutting edge with cross-domain deployments, Joe, for, like you said, a number of years. And could you talk a little bit about, what you guys are facing? What are your office's objectives for remote work? And then we can dive into the technology.
Sure. Telework, pretty broad. And then you add the sensitive information into telework environment. And then in our perspective, we deal with classified information. So putting classified and telework together, if you integrate multiple tunnels and trusted thin client, you open up a matrix type environment where you can see your unclassified network and your secret network and your secret rel 2 partners and your other partner networks. So the cross-domain solutions open up what would take you 2 or 3 areas in a physical space into one space that you can control.
So let's dive into the technology a little bit. We have a diagram of your infrastructure, and you're making use of, as you mentioned, cross-domain solutions to be able to access information at multiple security levels from a single device, and then allow it to have a secure communications channel back to headquarters, leveraging CSfC. But you also have a number of cross-domain transfer solutions or guards in the mix too. So if you bring in data from one classification level, you can easily move it to another. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, now with COVID, we have to be a little bit more forward thinking on bring your own device. So right now, I think we're looking at bring your own device, but maybe not for classified information. So there's a lot of sensitive information that the users need, or they can help move cases along, process administrative information. So bring your own device is going to take a whole new perspective in how we view things beyond COVID-19. Um, we're not going to be able to issue government furnished equipment to everybody because that's expensive. So we need to take a good look at one of the ideas we've had is I coined it as skiff on a stick. I don't know that we'll ever get out to a skiff on a stick, but that's a goal, you know, or have access to all the information using thin client technology, so you don't leave any data remnants out in the field or outside the protected data centers.
So, Joe, in dealing with you and seeing the system in operation, I must say it's pretty impressive to watch in action. And I come from a DoD IC background and been working with the FBI for a number of years, but my background's still DoD and IC. And it's interesting to watch them handle information that's classified versus FBI. You guys have slightly different rules associated with, and you mentioned it earlier, securing an area. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I see FBI as being a lot more progressive and a
Yeah,
lot better position to handle this remote work from home, especially with classified information.
yeah, we deal with a lot of major events in the continental United States and outside the continental United States. Major events could be anything from a domestic terrorist event, it could be an international terrorist event in a foreign country, it could be the Super Bowl, it could be a big major gathering. Any number of events, the FBI has probably got somebody on the ground helping with securing the public safety and ensuring that nothing bad happens. So with these type of events, it pushed the FBI's data pretty much anywhere. So our agents and our analysts have to be able to reach back into those big data stores that we have and do it securely. With the various tools like file transfer tools, we can collect a lot of information, be it pictures, malware, whatever the event happens to be, and then we usually take that data and put it into a more secure environment to where we can do our analysis and not worry about having prying eyes see what we're doing with the data that we're getting. So that's one of the main functions that we use cross-domain solutions for, I think, is what
Pass
you're.
that data up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you bring up an interesting point, Joe. You mentioned the Super Bowl, and I know FBI is present at many big events, but the public typically doesn't know that, right? You guys work silently behind the scenes to making sure nothing happens. But on occasion, like a big event, a bombing or terrorist activity, you'll see FBI in action. And you bring up a very good point. You need to be able to quickly set up an area to work and be able to access information at multiple classification levels and be able to gather data and push it up. Could you dive a little bit more into that? Because I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, well, usually when an event occurs, you don't know how much bandwidth you're going to have. One of the neat things about our remote access solution is, if anybody's familiar with satellite communications, there's this device called the BGAN device. Essentially, it's like having two ISDN connections. What is it? That about 120 bits per second with a trusted thin client mix of CSfC components. We can establish a thin client connection through the satellites from anywhere in the world back to our secure data centers. So that would be like the first person arriving on an event, and then after that, as more resources become available, area where the event's occurring, now you can get into more traditional solutions where you actually have a stable connections, more stable office-like environments. And the suite of tools that one needs, you're going to need basic devices that only need to have access to less sensitive data, and then you're going to have devices that can get to the more sensitive data. So
Oh, you mentioned it before. I think it's important to note again, as you collect this data, you need to be able to push it up to the classified environment to do analysis on that. And as you collect from unclassified, push it up, you still need to get access to that classified environment remotely. So I think it would be um, worthwhile to talk a little bit about the device itself and how it compared to the past. With you guys call it ERAS. It's a basically trusted thin client on a laptop with two CSfC approved tunnels to provide that secure connectivity back into the agency. And
hey,
seen in operation at your
George,
part.
you forgot one tunnel.
Explain.
The trusted thin client also has a tunnel, so we're actually triply encrypting the data when
Actually, that's a good point, Joe. Yep. And being in your office, seeing it in operation, been at your desk in a secure environment where you've opened up a laptop and basically we're able to show the same, desktop that you have on your physical desktop at Secret and at Unclass. And the most amazing thing is, all your icons are the same, all your applications are the same, your data can be accessed from both places. You simply close that laptop or shut it down, it becomes unclassified, and you can walk out the door with it. And then that device is unclassified until you, go through the process of restarting it, which includes decrypting the hard drive and then logging in. And then once again, it becomes classified again. Talk a little bit about how that compares to the old days where you had to bring in multiple computers and type 1 encryption hardware.
There's a lot of physical security controls with type 1 crypto
Yep.
that requires you to have a GSA safe to keep the crypto in, unless you get waivers, can get expensive because you got to build in mitigations to control that type 1 crypto. A lot of the traditional type 1 crypto devices, once you power it on, the keys are there. The connection is there to that sensitive network. The CSfC approach, you have a device, but it's not really connected to the classified network until the user does multiple things. Those are some of the challenges that you have when you're putting together something from the CSfC list of components, the secret recipe for your product.
So very good point. Certainly want to make sure you comply to OPSEC. We get rid of the whole type 1 hardware piece, but with Crossdomain, you also get rid of multiple computers, right? You would have to carry two computers in the past, one for Unclass, one for Secret, and then your separate type 1. This solution allows you to put that all into one, which is very convenient for the operator. And some people listening to this may say, well, okay, you got access to classified information on your device. When you shut it down, it's unclassified. Is there classified data on there? I know the answer, Joe. I'd love to have you, talk a little bit about why that system is secure when you turn it off and you disconnect.
Yes, the keys to establish the tunnels are on the device, but the keys are protected through locking down the device. So the user of the device essentially has a brick if he does not know the pins and passwords to get into the system.
So if someone found it left behind on the metro, uh, you people lose laptops occasionally. It would still be completely useless to them, even if they pulled out the hard drive and tried to take data directly off the disk. Reducing the footprint, getting rid of the type 1 crypto, And it seems like this is a lot easier to use. Do you find it easy to use?
It's easy to use, but like I said, some people may think that the multiple logins and the pins you got to put in
Hmm.
are cumbersome. That's a trade-off.
Right.
You can have a single sign-on system, but do you really want to have one password get you to your most sensitive data? That proprietary secret or the national security type secrets.
So, Joe, the FBI has been very successful in deploying this capability within. You have thousands of laptops in use. How does your IT shop centrally manage this? Is it difficult for them?
From my perspective, in the idea shop, yes, it's easy, but from the doers, it is an administrative challenge. You not only have to have good technical skills, you also have to have good management skills, because managing several hundred devices is a challenge. Managing thousands of devices,
Yes.
you really got to have a well design process to keep everything up to date.
And can you talk a little bit about, we're talking about management, and I agree, anytime you manage large scale deployments, it's certainly challenging. But can you talk a little bit about how it integrates into your existing environment? I talked earlier about how I saw it in action, where it basically replicates your desktop at your desk. Um,
Yeah, the trusted thin client comes up first, and then you actually, based on the policies, you're presented with environments. If I need to move a PDF document from the unclassified environment, I can log into my remote desktop device, go to the unclassified environment, receive the PDF, and then lift my document to the classified environment using a transfer cross-domain solution. Multiple types of cross-domains are useful. So, like in our environment, we use transfer solutions and an access solution, and being able to move several 5 GB files at a time up is having a significant capability.
so, Joe, you brought up an interesting point, and we talk a lot about classified information and levels like secret and unclassified. But you bring up a very good point that you have multiple unclassified environments too. You might have an official network. You may have another connectivity that allows you to be a little bit more liberal in what you can do as part of your investigation. And all that is still secured at the same exact level as the classified network, right? We still use CSfC to protect that communications channel. We still use CDS technology to keep all the data separate at the endpoint. And then the net result is that, the less equipment at the agent's desk, right? Or has to take out. Before, they would have to take multiple unclassified computers, one for your agency network, one for a more wide open unclassified network, and then a secret network or secret laptop. All that can be just combined into one system. And I think that's the real power of cross-domain solutions. Also, coupling that with CSfC, no one can see what traffic is going through there, right? It's completely encrypted.
Say what, when I first got to the bureau, there were most people had at least 3 workstations, an unclassified, a secret one, and a top secret machine. And then, some people might have 6 machines for environments in the 2 major areas of unclassified, secret and top secret. So what the thin client solution provides is the ability to group. As you consolidate the desktops, your applications get better, to where you can have at least 2 environments anywhere in the office without having to run 15 cables and have
Right.
15 workstations. And I don't know that I could ever give up my 3 monitors, but those are still some challenges that are out there, and cross-domain solutions are going to play a major role in.
So, Joe, one last question. We're all familiar with the NCDSMO. or the National Cross-Domain Strategy Management Office, being run out of NSA. They have a Raise the Bar initiative. And why is that important to you in getting systems approved?
The FBI is in two swim lanes. We've got the law enforcement swim lane and the intelligence community swim lane. And we got to be able to bridge those two gaps. So we're always going to need something that bridges the unclassified world and all the classified intelligence that helps the agents execute the mission and protect the United States. So
Great.
Raise the Bar is important to us because it's making it more secure by improving the security of the devices we use to share that information up and down.
And from a vendor perspective, their Raise the Bar effort is a continuous improvement in new security requirements for cross-domain solutions, and it's been quite a challenge keeping up with it. And I think we've been very successful as a company being able to, maintain our presence on that list. But
another thing that is really good about Raise the Bar is that we have a sliding scale as to when things are supposed to be sunsetted. We got to plan our budgets to be able to do a tech refresh in a reasonable amount of time.
All right, Joe, I think we're coming up to the end of our time, and I want to thank you for being a great customer, but also participating in this discussion. And I think you and your staff are doing a great job on putting the FBI in the forefront of technology by leveraging, technology such as cross-domain solutions for multi-level access, multi-level transfer, and CSfC to protect that communications channel from anywhere in the world. So, Joe, thank you very much. And until next time, goodbye.
All right. Thanks.